Welcome back to the channel. Today I have very good news for all of you. I have decided to finally get back to the product costing playlist. So this is one of the most requested and most viewed playlists on the channel, and you have always requested me to go back to the playlist and to continue explaining more into the product costing topic. So today I decided to get back to the product costing playlist, and I'm going to continue what I started. What I'm going to explain today is the use of transfer control in product costing. So this is something you can find in the costing variant, the transfer control. And I'm going to do this with a very simple business example as usual. So the example I'm going to explain today is if we have one company code, which is a very common business scenario in real life. We have one company code that is AG00 in my example, and then I have two plants. So this is exactly what I have on the system. I have Plant AG01 and Plant AG02. Plant AG01 is my manufacturing plant. This is where I produce the products. And the Plant AG02 is only for sales. So we don't have any production or any bill of material or any routing or any production master data in Plant AG02. We only have the final product that we are going to sell. Now in Plant AG01, when I do a standard cost estimate, SAP is going to check the bill of material and the routing and determine the cost of the product, because in Plant AG01, which is a manufacturing plant, we have all the needed master data and it is produced in-house. So SAP is going to find that we have two raw materials, AGRM01, AGRM02, and two activities for production, so production activity 1 and production activity 2, and the total is going to be 97 euros. Now in AG02, we don't have any bill of material or routing. So what we need SAP to do is to copy exactly the same cost from AG01. This is actually what we do in SAP. So when we run costing in AG02, SAP should check what is the cost in AG01 and copy it into AG02. And also we have the option, if needed, to add a freight cost. Most of the time you will have the two plants in the same place. It's only like virtual separation. So in this case you don't add freight, but let's say you want to add freight or handling or any other cost. This is something we can do with additive cost. And this is what I'm going to show you with a demo on SAP S/4HANA today. But before we get into this, let's just do a quick recap of what we have seen so far in the product costing playlist. So I started the product costing playlist a long time ago, you see 6 years ago, and I have not really continued explaining this topic since then. So I started by explaining what's product costing, the purchased material costing overview, moving average, standard cost, FIFO and LIFO, and then I explained what is bill of material, routing, how standard cost estimates work, introduction into material ledger. The last thing I did was showing you how to run a standard cost estimate for one item, for one material, and also how to do a mass costing run for multiple materials. And then after this, the last thing was to show you how to do the additive cost. So this is the last thing I did as a demo, showing you how to add additive cost to the standard cost estimate, and then I switch it to other topics. So now I'm continuing where I stopped last time. So this video that I'm explaining today will be after the additive costs video. So most of the things I'm going to use today, I have already explained in the playlist. So we get back to the basics of this channel. We always check the playlists because I always explain in a progressive manner. I start with the basics and then I start getting more and more into the topic. And the product costing specifically is something that I explained really in details, and it has been there for 6 years. You can find a lot of comments, questions. I have modified the playlist a lot. So please go ahead and check the playlist. Don't watch this video standalone because I'm not going to re-explain the things that we already explained. Okay? So I'm really happy I'm doing this. I have been willing to get back to this playlist for a long time, and I couldn't do it because I didn't have a fixed, stable SAP S/4HANA sandbox or system that I can use for testing, which I do today. So this system I'm using today is something you can also get access to if you want. So this is my AG SAP S/4HANA 2023 access. And if you'd like to get access to it, you can check the website. So galalacademy.com/SAP access. You will find all the details. You can also leave me a comment or send me an email and I am going to provide the details. So now let's get to our topic. So back to the business case, just to have a quick look. So this is the business case that I just explained. So now I'm going to show you the master data of our finished product, AGFG02. I'm going to run a cost estimate in AG01 so we can see the bill of material and the routing. And then I'm going to switch to Plant AG02 run a cost estimate, and we will see how SAP is going to copy the cost from AG01, and I will show you why SAP is doing this. So what are the fields that we need to fill in order to tell SAP to copy the cost, and also what is the configuration needed. Let's go back to our system, and I am going to go back to the main menu /n so we can start from scratch. So now to run a cost estimate, which I already explained, we use CK11N, okay? And I'm going to run a cost estimate for my material AGFG02 in Plant AG01. Now this material, if we want to check the master data, I can double click on the material. So if you check here, we have this material, which is AGFG02. It's in pieces. There is nothing important here. Let's switch directly to the MRP views. So if I go here to MRP, so this is my plant and storage location. So now the MRP, I'm mentioning here what are the MRP related details. So if we go to MRP2, here I'm saying that this product has a procurement type E. E means that it is being produced in-house. So this is actually how SAP knows whether this item is in-house production or whether this item is something that we buy or we externally procure. In the case of Plant AG01, which is my manufacturing plant, this will be in-house production E. But in case of Plant AG02, which is my sales plant, it will be external procurement, because AG02 is procuring this item from AG01. It's being produced in AG01, and then we give it to AG02. So from the point of view of AG02, this is external procurement. But from the point of view of AG01, which is the manufacturing plant, this is in-house production. And as you see, the MRP details are plant oriented. So for each plant, there are different details. So this is one of the very important differences, and we are going to see this together. Now let's go back to our cost estimate, and I'm going to run the cost estimate, and we can see what is the cost that we have for this product. So here I have the material, I have the plant, I have my costing variant AGC1, and the costing version is 1, and this is the costing load size 1. So I will just press enter. As you see, I also have transfer control configured into my costing variant. So for this demo, I want to show you what will happen without transfer control and what will happen with transfer control. So I'm going to remove this. I'm going to remove it. So now I'm changing the configuration of the costing variant, and I'll just remove this completely. As you see, this is my own costing variant, AGC1, so I can do whatever I want. I'm not changing the standard configuration. This is important whenever you are using a public server or a server that you share with others. Do not change the standard configuration. Copy it and do whatever you want. So now I remove the transfer control. I'm going to save. And now we are back to, let's go back to our cost estimate. So now there is no transfer control, and I will switch to the second tab. So here we have dates, press enter. So I'm now doing costing for March. This is normal in any business. We always do the costing for the future period, and then we mark it. Then once we start the new period, we release it to actually do the accounting impact. I have already explained all of this in the playlist. So now I'm doing costing for March. So we are in February, we are doing costing for the new month. And then as you see, we have costing date from 1st of March until end of March, quantity structure date, valuation date, which are used to pick the cost of the items, the cost of the activities, and the bill of material and routing are as of 1st of March. Now press enter, and SAP is going to start calculating the cost of our finished product. On the left here, we can see the hierarchy of the bill of material. So you see here we have raw material 1, we have raw material 2, and if you check the itemization that's here, let me just pull this up so you can see it completely. So as you see here, we have the itemization, which shows us all the details of our cost. So here we have two activities. So I is an activity. So two production activities coming from routing. So we have production activity 1, production activity 2. They are coming from cost center PRD1 and work center PRD1. And then we have two materials. So we have Plant AG01 material AGRM03 and AG01 material AGRM04. So I have two raw materials and I have two activities. And the total cost is 97. So we have here 12, 20, 25, 40, and 97. So the value, so we have here the quantities for the activity. So for example, activity 1, PRD1 has 4 minutes and is for 12, which means that each minute is for 3 euros. And this is determined from the transaction that we maintained in KP26, where we maintain the activity prices. I already demonstrated this before. And then activity for the second activity, it is the same. And then we have AGRM03 and 4. This cost is coming from the standard cost estimate of these raw materials. So both of these raw materials are managed in standard costing, and they have the cost. So this one has 5, which is multiplied by 5 gives us 25. This one is 40, so 8 multiplied by 5 gives us 40. So this is my cost estimate for AG02, for AGFG02, and as you see, it is coming from the raw material, it's coming from the bill of material and the routing. So SAP is able to see bill of material, routing, and calculate the cost. If we go here to the quantity structure, here we have the bill of material number and we have the routing number, and if we double click, we can see the data that SAP used in order to determine the bill of material. So here is our bill of material. So this is what's actually being used for manufacturing. So this is the bill of material that the production department is going to use. SAP is taking it and calculating the cost based on it. So this is a very accurate calculation, and we have the same for routing. So if we go here, we can find the manufacturing activities. So this is it for the cost estimate of our product in Plant AG01. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to save this cost estimate. Done. Now I want to go ahead and cost Plant AG02. And let me show you what will happen. So if I go back, so I'm starting in a very simple explanation, then it will get more complicated. So stay with me, because this is one of the areas that causes issues sometimes to clients. I have personally been in projects where clients suffered because of this. Because your costing for Plant AG02, which is your sales plant, must absolutely be equal to AG01. Maybe you want to add freight, this is a different topic, but if there is no additional cost, you want the Plant AG02 to have exactly the same cost as AG01. If there is a difference in cost, this can cause a lot of issues in finance, and then you will have to pass manual adjustment entries and your stock value will be wrong. So you need to be sure that AG01 and AG02, they have the same value for your cost. Now I'm going to switch to AG02, enter. And then again, so I'm now costing the same product in Plant AG02, which is my sales plant, and it should be exactly equal to AG01. So now I have the same details here, I just changed the plant and then enter again. Now what SAP is doing is actually it is checking the cost in AG01. So this is why here on the hierarchy on the left, we don't have the raw material, we cannot see the raw materials directly. We see AG finished 02 again. And if you look here, so if I pull this up, so the itemization here is there's only one costing item, which is AG01, AGFG02. So SAP went to Plant AG01 and checked the cost for AGFG02 and copied it into our cost here. So now we have 97 here, which is exactly equal to what we have in AG01. So this is okay, this is good. But this is the simple scenario because we just did the cost for Plant AG01 and then we did the cost for AG02. Nothing changed in between, so nothing happened wrong. But let me show you here what we have. So here, if you open the tree for the material coming from AG01, you can see the raw materials. So what SAP did is, it went into Plant AG01, it redid the costing, because now the costing was not released, so SAP redid the costing in AG01 and copied it into AG02. This can be an issue, and let me tell you why. Now let's complicate things a little bit. Let's imagine that we did the costing for AG01 and we saved it. And then before we do the costing to AG02, something changed in the cost items. So for example, the raw material cost changed, or maybe someone modified the bill of material. Anything happened that causes the cost to change. In this case, we will have different cost in AG02 unless we configure the transfer control correctly. So let me show you this with a clear example. So now I am not going to save this cost estimate. I'll just go back. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the bill of material to have a different cost from what we have in AG01. So now I will switch here /O CS02. This is the transaction to change the bill of material. And here I'm going to, so for Plant AG01, and bill of material usage is 1, production. And then I want to change the bill of material that is valid in 01/03/2025. So this is the bill of material that we just used. We have here quantity 5 and 5. Now I'm going to change this to make this quantity 10, just to show what will happen if we have different cost, if we have different input into our cost. So now I changed this, and now if I go here, and let's go back and run our cost estimate. So AGFG02, Plant AG02, enter, enter. Now what will happen is SAP is recosting AG01, and now it's coming with a different cost. It's telling me that the cost of the item in Plant AG02 will be 122. It looks very simple to you right now, like it doesn't make sense, but trust me, in real life, this causes a lot of issues. Let me tell you why. Most of the time, there are many companies that use moving average for raw materials. Now they run the cost for the Plant AG01, the manufacturing plant, and it comes out as 100. But then by the time they run the cost for Plant AG02, the moving average of the raw materials have changed because someone received a new production order or something. And then when you run the cost for AG02, you end up with a different cost. So this is an issue, and it happens only when you are planning for future periods, because if there is a released cost estimate, SAP will copy it anyway. But now because we are planning for a new period, SAP is redoing the cost because we do not have the transfer control configured. This is why many people just miss out on this configuration part, and they don't see it makes sense. But it's very important. You see what's happening here is in AG02, the cost is 122 now, while in AG01, the cost is 97. And now the second step after we do the cost estimate CK11N is we mark the cost and release it, right? So just let me show you the end-to-end. So if I go here to CK24, which is the transaction we use to mark and release the cost. And now I'm going to say, okay, so this is the normal transaction, company code AG00, Plant AG01, and here material, let's say Plant AG01 and AG02. And then let me just get back here, and I'm going to save. Let me save this. Now let's go here. So now AG01, AG02, and our product is AGFG02. And I'm doing a test run because I don't want to release this. And this is for period 3, 2025. And we are just doing a marking. We cannot release until the period starts, but marking you can do at any time. So now I'm going to mark, which means that I am telling SAP that this is the cost I am going to use in the new period. I need to allow the marking allowance also for the plants. So AG for the company code AG01. We are using AG00. So this is the company code. Costing variant AGC1. We have to allow this. I already demonstrated all of this multiple times in the playlist. Again, so check the playlist. So let's go back. And I'm just doing a test run, and let's execute. And let's click on back to see the detailed report. So here is the cost that will be marked for the future period for March. And you can see the problem here. So for the material AGFG02 in Plant AG01, the future planned price is 97. While for AG02, the future planned price is 122. This is in Euro and USD, so we have two currencies. This is why we have 4 lines. So I'm just comparing the same currency together. So now for Euro, we have 97 and 122. You see now there is a difference in cost between both plants for the same product. And this is because we changed the bill of material, right? So this is not really a scenario that's very common, but it can happen. But the most common scenario is if you have the raw materials with moving average, and the moving average of the material changed because someone did a goods receipt in the middle, so it will change your cost estimate. But now you see this is a big problem because this is not correct. The cost in both plants should be the same because the item costed us 97, for example, and then we moved it to another plant. It should have the same cost in both plants. It is in the same company code also. So if there is a different cost, this will cause financial impact. So when you do the transfer between the two plants, it will post to a loss account or a gain account because you have a different cost. And then all of this must be adjusted later. It is a nightmare. So the reason this happens is because you have different costs for the same item in both plants. So this happened because I did not use the transfer control. The way to avoid this is to use the transfer control. So now let's go back and let me show you what transfer control is. And also I will show you how SAP knows that in Plant AG02 the item is to be copied, the cost is to be copied from Plant AG01, which I did not show you. So now let's go back to our standard cost estimate CK11N. And if I go to material AGFG02 and Plant AG02 again, and this time I want to show you the master data of this material in Plant AG02 to show you which field is the one that is telling SAP to copy the cost from Plant AG01. So now if I go here to the MRP2 view, so this is in Plant AG02 as you see. Here we have procurement type F, which is external, as I explained at the beginning of the video, because in AG02 we are getting the product from AG01, and we have a special procurement 40. So this is something that impacts material management, production, and also impacts costing. Special procurement key 40 is something that we configure. So this one is called stock transfer from AG01. So this is my own description. And if I show you the configuration of this special procurement key, inside we tell SAP that this is going to copy, or this is going to be a transfer from another plant. So if I click here and let's go to the configuration. So this is how SAP knows that when we run cost estimate for the item in Plant AG02, it is going to be external procurement and it should copy the cost from AG01. So this is the key that's telling SAP this. So if I go here to master data, define special procurement types, and then our special procurement type is 40. So if I go here, define special procurement type, and go into Plant AG02. So this is per plant as you see, and special procurement type 40. And then let's go into the details. You see, so this is going to be applicable for procurement type F. It has special procurement U, and the plant is AG01. So we are telling SAP that this item is procured externally as a stock transfer from Plant AG01. And SAP uses these details when running the cost estimate to copy the cost from the plant that we mention here. So this is how SAP knows that when we run the standard cost estimate CK11N, it should copy the cost from AG01. Now let's get back to CK11N. And now I'm going to run the cost estimate for AG02, but this time I'm going to put the transfer control. So before we do so, let me show you the result that we had before so we can compare. So now I'm using AG01 costing variant. Here is the date. And then if I run here, we are going to get the cost estimate, which is 122. So this is different from 97 that we have in AG01. So this 122, and if we go here to quantity structure, we don't have bill of material, we don't have routing. We only have special procurement data, stock transfer from Plant AG01 special procurement key 40. So this is how SAP found the cost. It copied it from the other plant. If we go here to valuation, you'll find here the valuation view, currency, and so on. Now, if you look here in the costing data, we don't have any transfer control. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cancel this. And I'm going to change my costing variant to add the transfer control. And I'm going also to show you the configuration. So this is how we change the costing variant. Here I'm going to add AG transfer. And if I go here to transfer control, let me show you the configuration. So I have single plant and cross plant. Our scenario that we are doing today is cross plant. So I did not do anything in single plant. If we go to cross plant, I'm saying first use period based transfer, which means that SAP is going to check if there is a saved cost estimate for the period that we are costing in Plant AG01, and it will copy it as is. It's not going to recost. It will just copy whatever we have in AG01. If it doesn't find anything as a saved cost estimate, then it will check the future standard cost estimate, which is the market cost estimate. So in case someone did costing for AG01 and market the cost estimate, SAP is also going to find it. And then the third strategy I have is no transfer, so don't do anything, just recost the item. So if you put no transfer, it means that SAP is going to recost the item, or by default, it will see if there is a released cost estimate. So a released meaning that you are costing for the same period. A released cost estimate, and it will just copy it. Now, this is my configuration, and it's very simple as you see. Let's go back. And I'm going to save the costing version. This is a configuration. So now, if I repeat the transaction /nck11n, this time, as you see, we have the transfer control added, coming from the configuration that we just changed. So now again, AGFG02, Plant AG02 costing variant, enter. So the only thing I changed is the transfer control, and see what this will do now. So if I press enter here, now SAP is copying 97 as what we have in AG01. You see how important the transfer control is? So when we added the transfer control, we told SAP that it should check if there is any saved cost estimate for the period that we are costing for, or if there is any market cost estimate for the period that we are costing for, and if there is any, then SAP should copy it and use it in AG02. So this way we guarantee 100% that the costing in AG02 will always be the same as costing in Plant AG01. There will be no difference. And this is very important. Sometimes people miss this part. They don't configure the transfer control in the costing variant. They don't use it. And then after go live, they realize that in the period end closing or year end closing, that there is a difference in the stock value between two plants, which shouldn't be there. And to fix this is really a mess, because once you release the cost estimate and you have some stock, this will result in accounting postings of gain and loss. And then whenever you use the items for sales or production, or you do anything with them, it will result in wrong postings again. It is impossible to reverse. You will have to pass manual adjustments, and when you do an audit, it is a nightmare. So you always need to be careful if you have the scenario of a stock transfer between two plants, that the cost estimate is copied from plant 1 to plant 2, as we did here, using the transfer control. Don't leave this to chance. So as you see here, now we have the cost is 97, copied from AG01. If you check the costing data, you'll find here the transfer control. This is how SAP knows that it should copy the cost that was saved in in AG01, in Plant AG01. And this is the scenario I wanted to show you. Now the other thing I want to add is, it happens a lot also that someone says we want to add an extra cost in Plant AG02 because we have, for example, to move the products from here to there, or maybe there is a handling cost, there is a machine that we use that will do it, or there is a freight cost, so the plants are not in the same place or whatever. So for any reason, if you would like to add some extra cost to the cost that you copied, this is something we can do using additive costs, which also I explained in the last video. So I'll just show you quickly how to apply it to this scenario. So now to add an additive cost, we go to transaction. I'm not going to save this, so no. We go to transaction CK74N. I'm not going to show you where to find it and so on, because you already know this from the playlist. I have done a full video for additive cost. So CK74N. So now AGFG02, Plant AG02, I have the costing variant here, and I have the costing lot size. I can click on copy from component structure with text, and this will show me if in my configuration of the component structure, cost to component structures, we have configured any cost to components to accept additive costs. Here I press enter. So we already have some additive costs that are there, but maybe there is nothing. So let's just copy it and see what we have inside. So now we do have here something, but the price is 0. So this is why there's no additive cost. So now I can add additive cost according to my configuration. I can add additive cost to raw material or to miscellaneous. I'm using miscellaneous because this is the example for now. So let's say, for example, here I'm going to add 3. So this is 3 as additive cost. And save. So this is okay. Now let's save. And we will get back to our standard cost estimate transaction, CK11N. And run again the cost estimate. This is to show you that additive costs will be applied above the cost that we are transferring from the other plant. So you can copy the cost from another plant and add some cost to it, which is very nice and very important. So now as you see here, what happened is SAP copied the cost for AGFG02 from Plant AG01 according to the transfer control and added 3 euros as additive cost that we just added. So feel free to use this as you want. Now you see how we can configure SAP to copy the cost in the scenarios of plant stock transfer. So now you know how SAP can copy the cost from one plant to the other, and also how we can add additive costs above the cost that we are copying. To be able to do this, you have to configure the system, of course, to be able to accept for the system to accept to add additive cost like this. Let me show you just a quick tip to do this. So now if I go here to the costing variant and then go to additive costs, so in my costing variant, you have to check this, include additive costs with the stock transfer. If you do not check this, then SAP is not going to apply additive costs when there is a stock transfer. But in my case, I want SAP to apply the stock transfer value and add additive costs. So you have to check this box. And of course, in any scenario, if you want to include additive costs, you have to choose the value 2 here. So to include additive costs. If you do ignore additive costs, then SAP is not going to add additive costs in general in any scenario. But here I have 2. You can also choose 3. So in short, this is the important configuration to be able to add additive costs in the scenario of plant stock transfer. I hope you found this video useful. I know it is a little bit advanced than the other videos in the playlist, but if you follow the playlist and you understand now before watching this video how to do a cost estimate, what's an additive cost, and so on, this video would be easy to you. So if you are struggling to understand what I explained here, or if you find that I'm explaining too fast, then please check the playlist from the beginning. It is really very simple and I have explained it in very good details. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think about this video in the comments. Let me know if you have any questions, and let me know what are the other things I should add to the product costing playlist. If you would like to get access to this SAP S/4HANA 2023 demo system, then you can by checking the link galalacademy.com/SAP access. You'll find all the details there. And also there are the contact details if you would like to send me an email, or if you would like to ask any questions, you can also send me a message on LinkedIn. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and also to check the channel membership program so you can get access to the member exclusive documents and also to other benefits. So we have a chat group and other benefits. So check the channel membership program. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.